Hello, everybody, and welcome to Web and Beyond Live for December 7th, 2020. Each week, I come to you talking about digital marketing and productivity technologies and everything in between, hopefully helping you all understand how to market and manage on the web and beyond better. I'm Ray Sidney Smith. I'm president of W3 Consulting and managing director of W3C Web Services, which provides affordable web hosting solutions for small businesses. So with that, today, what we're going to talk about is a little bit of news, kind of a smattering of news across the board. I want to talk a little bit about what Fed Chairman Jerome Powell talked about last week regarding small business. We're going to talk about Black Friday and some changes Walmart is making to their shipping, kind of eking in, and what that means for small business and how you're really going to make an edge in terms of digital experience in 2021. We're going to talk about WhatsApp, SquareSpace, YouTube, and then I want to talk today about an article I was reading on Sprout Social. They put out a report, and I think that it's going to be really important to kind of think about how to do Facebook marketing effectively. And I wanted to walk through the steps that they talked about and giving some commentary on that, a little bit of closing the loop on the Google Web Stories discussion, just as an update, and talking a little bit about one that I missed in the context of the stories launch this year. And so I want to make sure that I do cover that. And so let's get started with my first story this week, which was Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. He came out and he testified before Congress. In this case, he was testifying before the Senate panel about the U.S. economy and some fiscal and monetary policy stuff. And while he was talking about the fact that he has a lot of levers still, tools in his toolkit to be able to counteract the current, economic crisis that we're facing, he was really impressing upon the Congress that they need to act. Both Congress and the president needs to act here to be able to help small business. I wanted to bring this up because we are on the verge of a cliff of sorts. One, we are going to see a massive kind of bloodletting of payroll, in the next couple of months. We're going to see a lot of organizations start to let people go. In line with that, that means that there's going to be a glut of new small businesses starting, which for those of us who are in the B2B space, where I'm a B2SMB company, I'm helping small businesses. This is really, I guess, good for my business, but it is not good for the economy in the short term. That means a really steep economic recession, and we're already in that, kind of first set of recession this year because of the pandemic, and now we're going to roll into the next. So my thoughts for you is that prepare yourselves for this, massive probably decrease in consumer spend. I'm not quite sure there. It depends on what Congress does and what the president does in terms of short-term economic stimulus. My point being is that if you care about small business and you care about your small business community, now's the time to reach out to your representative, your congressman, and all of the representatives around you, and start letting them know that you want to support small business and that supporting, increasing money from the CARES Act, extending that, whatever it might be, is, you feel like is the thing that will help solve for this huge, impact that we're going to be seeing. You need to reach out to your representatives and let them know that you support small business, you are a small business, and that you want to see them do something. So just wanted to let everybody know about that. But if Fed Chairman Powell is talking about this in kind of not dire straits, but clearly he's talking about this from a concern perspective. We should all be concerned if he's saying that, yes, I have levers, but you should really be putting more up there as well. Moving right along then to maybe some more positive news, Black Friday hit a record $9 billion spent in consumer spending this season. So that saw small retailers an increase in 545% in terms of sales for Black Friday, which is just remarkable, but not surprising. So this is important for us all to recognize, which is that those small retailers benefited from having digital experiences and predominantly mobile experiences. So many of these people who are buying online today, the vast majority of them actually were buying on mobile. So this is not shocking to me again, but certainly notable to remember that you need to make sure your website is mobile optimized and capable of being seen. And I'm going to do an entire show soon on the topic of core web vitals, upcoming Google changes to the search engine algorithm. And this is going to be really, really important for every website in 2021 and going forward. And it's something that you're going to have to pay attention to. It's just a reality now that if you do not have your core web vitals under control, you're going to have problems. So we're going to cover that in its own episode, and I want to really give some deep dive there so we can understand, because it's a little bit technical, but it just comes down to having good hosting and understanding what that hosting means. So I just wanted to kind of step in there. But that being the case, we have this huge amount of new buyers to buying online. These are folks who otherwise were maybe spending, they may have made an internet purchase. Maybe they've done something in that regard, but now they're doing the vast majority of their purchasing online. Now, of course, post-pandemic, you're going to see people go back to in-person retail shopping again. But I bet you that we're going to have captured a good chunk of those people who will just never go back to in-person shopping because it's so convenient. I made that shift quite a long time ago of recognizing that I could make all kinds of purchases online and cutting out the going into the store to buy those things. Now, there are certainly places that I enjoy going in person to do a retail experience. We're going to see more and more and more people do this. Adobe wrote here that they expect shoppers to spend between $10.8 billion to $12.7 billion on Cyber Monday. And that was this past Monday. And those numbers, I believe, stood up the test. That's a 35% increase in spending since last year. So we're seeing these record-breaking numbers in terms of new dollars spent online. And what is going to happen is we're just going to see more of that. We're going to see an increased propagation of that. And Walmart has something to do with this, which is to say, this past week, Walmart decided to get rid of their shipping minimum for their subscription purchase. So if you didn't know, Walmart has a similar program to Amazon Prime they call Walmart Plus. Walmart Plus had a $35 minimum shipping threshold for all web orders. And in this membership program, you would be able to go ahead and, if you purchase more than $35, then you got a free shipping. Well, they got rid of that. And so as of this past Wednesday, orders from members of Walmart Plus on items like electronics, clothing, toys, and other merchandise all go out the door with free shipping. They're obviously making a play at Amazon Prime. The biggest issue here is that it's going to affect you as a small business. And there's some ways that you can get around this. So if you're shipping product and you're in the retail space, I consistently say this, you have to kind of, you have to live with your enemies here. Amazon ads are a way to get your products in front of people because they are shopping on Amazon, and they're doing the work for you to garner traffic. There's no reason for you not to put ads on Amazon to lead them off Amazon to your retail websites. Now, on your e-commerce sites, they need to be effective. So you cannot be spending money on Amazon ads before you know that your websites are truly effective. So that's one thing that I see people saying, oh, well, I put ads on Amazon and they're not working. No, it's not Amazon that's not working. Amazon can drive traffic. They need to be good ads, but you need to have a great e-commerce solution so that you're capable of capturing that traffic for the ad dollars you're spending. There's no reason to put ad spend out there if you're not actually capable of converting. But the point is that with Walmart Plus going ahead and challenging Amazon Prime, we're going to see now Walmart, Amazon, and Target really capture the majority of online commerce now. And you need to make sure that you have some kind of e-commerce solution to be able to be seen in that space. So right now, Amazon ads, I think, is probably the best way to get around some of this, but just also know that Walmart is starting to make more and more inroads. And that means if you want to get your products onto Amazon, onto Target, or onto Walmart's websites, there are ways to do that. They have their own procurement systems where they can bring small business products onto the shelves. And you'll need to look into that research to be able to make that happen. But just know that if you do have a retail product and you can provide that kind of nationwide national presence, I would suggest going out there and looking into those pieces. Okay, next up is SquareSpace. Oh no, I'm sorry, WhatsApp. So I wanted to just touch base a little bit on this topic of WhatsApp. Fortune was put out an article and video talking about WhatsApp and the fact that they really consider WhatsApp the next what they call super app. Of course, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. So I've had no misgivings about the fact that Facebook will do what they need to in order to make Facebook grow. And that means consuming as much as they can of the WhatsApp data and the users on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is going to, over time, likely start to do more of what many of the features inside of Facebook does. And it's just natural. So Google just recently redesigned and put out their Google Pay app so that they can do peer-to-peer payments and all kinds of other personal finance issues. WeChat in China, of course, is one of the most popular platforms in most of Asia for being able to both chat but also do peer payments and all kinds of other things in that environment. Now we're going to see more and more of these features probably come to WhatsApp, which means as a business owner, you're able to interface with people. There's a potential for, if you hire a freelancer, being able to pay through WhatsApp potentially. There are ways in which you can manage peer-to-peer payments and managing client payments potentially through WhatsApp. We're going to see more of that stuff come down the pike in 2021, I'm pretty sure, as Facebook brings Facebook Shops and Instagram Shops into the WhatsApp ecosystem. So yes, there's a clear opportunity there. Now, from my perspective, I would not trust WhatsApp. Of course, you need to go where the people are, right? So if your interest is in making sure that you're controlling your customers' influx, and as I want to say, if someone wants to pay you, take their money and take their money wherever they're going to give it to you, right? So when you're on a website, or whether you're in a mobile application, in this case, WhatsApp, you really need to be able to, if that's convenient for your customers, make it convenient for your customers. But I would definitely still consider your e-commerce solution and how you take payment off WhatsApp or other platforms as the more primary mechanism for being able to manage your business. You're just going to have better efficiencies. WhatsApp is not going to integrate with your point of sale system or with your accounting software or those kinds of things in the same way as other bespoke tools for those reasons. So you really want to control those pieces, but just be mindful of the fact that WhatsApp is going to start to gain dominance, and you need to respond to that if you start to see people out there. Of course, my favorite messaging app is Telegram, and I can't speak more highly of Telegram's capabilities. You can schedule messages, you can share all kinds of content. It's secure, and it comes across platform. You could put it on almost any device and chat on those devices. My watch, web, you name it, and you can chat across those devices. So if I were going to, bet on in terms of a place to have that messaging chat conversation for my company, I would choose Telegram over WhatsApp. But we also have to look at reality, and the fact is, Facebook is a huge company with a lot of power. Okay, next up, Squarespace has launched a new feature set back in November. This is the Squarespace membership area, or what they call member areas. And I wanted to just compare and contrast it, because this is really a huge new, feature set that Squarespace has added. And of course, it's in the context of the pandemic. But, we have to take it in as a grain of salt in a lot of ways. So Squarespace has long had the ability for you to take payment. You could set up a lightweight retail web store, and they've also had the ability for you to be able to schedule appointments through them. So both for product and service business, they've kind of had you covered. Now they have created this membership platform where you can, in essence, go into your Squarespace account and put content behind a paywall, right? So you can charge subscriptions for access to this payment system. So they're handling some of the back-end work that would otherwise be a little bit more cumbersome to do. And that's great. I think that if you have Squarespace and you don't know this exists, now you do, go for it. If I was not on Squarespace, would I go to Squarespace for this to be the case? Absolutely not. And here goes my problems. One, the members area does not connect to email. So Squarespace current email platform, they have a kind of a built-in email newsletter functionality. What would be really great is if you were able to charge for email, akin to say Substack or Review, these applications that allow you to be able to charge for subscription to, in essence, an emailed publication. I really feel like Squarespace needs to tighten this up, and maybe they'll get there. I don't know what's on their roadmap in terms of this, but I really would love to see these pieces come together. So if you are thinking about in 2021, and I think this is about the time where you're starting to think about what are you going to do next year, how are you going to do your marketing, and what potentially business model changes are going to be happening. Are you going to be a content company publishing content? Are you going to be doing some kind of service in confluence with that content production? And if you're a product business, how can your content production be monetized so that you can diversify revenues? Because who knows what the retail environment is going to be like for the first half of 2021. So start to consider all of these pieces, and with other products like Shopify, or with WordPress and WooCommerce and BigCommerce and many of these other large-scale e-commerce platforms, you are able to connect your email. And I think that we keep losing sight of the fact that email and our connection to our customers in that one-to-one way is very powerful and vital to making sure that you are delivering services and integrating those products, that content as a product perspective out to those folks. So just be mindful of that. But good on Squarespace for adding those features. I wanted to make a little bit of a note about the a feature that YouTube is bringing to the table, and that you can actually take advantage of a little bit right now, but is only, I think, currently being tested in India. So YouTube is going after TikTok. And so TikTok, of course, has gained popularity. They'll probably exceed the 1 billion user mark in early 2021. And they are, the champion of short form video right now. Facebook and Instagram now have Instagram Reels. Instagram Reels is likely to gain new features and become more predictive in terms of its capabilities, obviously because it's got Facebook and Instagram behind it. And so YouTube is now launching what are called YouTube Shorts. It is currently being tested in India. And in essence, when you open up the mobile application, the YouTube mobile application, you will see a new camera that will have an option for, when you open up the camera, you'll see a new option as Shorts. So instead of the traditional just recording a video, you will then have a Shorts option. Now, I'm not sure of the exact particulars in terms of is the short form video going to have a the same features as it has currently or not, but in essence, you can create it seems to me is an 18-second video. I think is the length of time, or is it 20 seconds, something to that effect. 15 seconds or less. So it's 15 seconds, and so you can do multiple segments of the shorts. So think it's just like TikToks or Instagram Reels, but you have a little bit of variation there in terms of how they're doing. But they're basically testing this in India, and presumably they're going to roll that out to the rest of the world once they get a better, data collection in terms of maybe problems and other pieces going from there. Now, as I said, you can still take advantage of this right now. And it's just a bit of a trick in the system. And some people are capable of seeing it work for them. So you can as well. In essence, you open up your camera, you stay in portrait view. So that's the up and down perspective. So like you were looking at your phone, right side up. And when you're recording, you just record in that perspective. When you're done, you actually put the hashtag shorts, so the number sign and then the word shorts, into the title of the video. That's what I understand as being the case. And if anybody knows differently, let me know. But you basically put the hashtag shorts into the title of the video, and that is showing it in and among the other shorts that are on YouTube Shorts in the interface. So just something to be aware of, that you can maybe take advantage of YouTube Shorts. The other side to that, if you don't plan to do it right now, that doesn't make any difference to me. What you should be thinking about is 2021. Know that in probably the next 3 to 6 months, YouTube Shorts is going to be a thing. And you're going to want to start planning for what that looks like. Now, we don't know whether or not YouTube is going to inject their same restrictions on these things, so the YouTube Stories feature that they had before, only folks who had enough subscribers, were capable of utilizing that tool, and that's still the case that I understand. And so in that sense, will YouTube Shorts only be allowed for those folks, or will YouTube make that widely available to everybody on the platform? That's still to be determined. But you should probably start thinking, okay, if we're creating videos now for Instagram Reels, for TikTok, for Snapchat Spotlight, for Google Web Stories, we should now start thinking about how to make these applicable to YouTube Shorts, so that if that happens, then you can start publishing back catalog items to YouTube Shorts going forward in 3, maybe 6 months time from now. So you're not missing, the generation of that content, and it's not going for naught. So in that vein of stories, I just want to have a little piece of errata and update. I am remiss to note that MeWe Stories, so MeWe, if you didn't know, is a small but growing social network that is challenging Facebook. And MeWe's whole point is to be the anti-Facebook Facebook. In essence, they are supposed to be free and private, but then they charge. They kind of have premium services for individual users, and then they charge businesses to be on the platform. So you have to pay in order to be there, which is exactly the model that I wish Facebook had gone with. They probably wouldn't be the behemoth they are today, but they also probably wouldn't be evil in the ways that they can be. So there's just a greed and malintent perspective that is constantly talked about about them, and it's because they're beholden to their shareholders and the stock market more than they are to the people that they serve. And so we don't own our data in the same way that we think we do on Facebook. And so there's a piece there that I feel like if they had gone and just said to every user or to every business, you've got to pay $1 or $2 per month in order to have a Facebook page, they would probably be making just about the same amount of money. And they could do it in a useful, normative way, and still retain this data security and privacy perspective that we're all now realizing is important for social networks to have. That being the case, that's my soapbox. But MeWe Stories came out in February, and I know I did the All the Stories episode, and so I just wanted to make note that I did miss that I've been using MeWe Stories here and there, but I just forgot to mention that MeWe Stories is actually one of the stories formats that are out there, even though they only have I don't know what it is, I forget what the number, how many MeWe users there are out there. They're a good network, and so they're out there, and so we should not discount MeWe Stories as being in and among them. I'm still working on a Google Web Story to show and do a tutorial on, so I will let you guys know as soon as I get that live and available for you. And that leads me to my final kind of piece here, which is that I came across an article from Sprout Social, and they were talking about the 7 steps to an effective Facebook marketing strategy. And I just wanted to walk through the steps because I agree and disagree with some of these pieces, and I think it would just be helpful to understand where I'm coming from and where this might help you. So they talk about the 7 steps, and we're just going to walk through them really quickly, and then I'll give commentary. So they put out this Sprout Social Index report that they do every year, and this article itself is updated to August 5th, 2020. So this is about mid-year this year, and it still stands. It's a really good article, and I recommend that you go through and read it. But they say, set goals for Facebook is number 1. Number 2, know your Facebook audience. Number 3 is to engage, what they say, proactively with your audience. Then next, they have schedule your Facebook content. They talk about next, determining your Facebook ad strategy. And then 6 is encourage employee advocacy. And then 7 is track and analyze your results. Okay, so those are the 7 pieces here. And when we look at these pieces individually, I think number 1, of course, setting goals for Facebook is important. This cannot be discounted, but at the same time, I don't think we should be setting goals for networks specifically. We should be setting goals in and among all of our social media, what I consider community building, right? Which is listening, speaking, and connecting. That is engaging with your audience, committing to reading other content and contributing to that content. You yourself consistently publishing content across the board, and then engaging your community in the concept of building community, making sure people feel belonging in that perspective. Now, if we set goals specifically for Facebook, what we're forgetting is that what we want to do is be driving traffic to our community, to our website, to our e-commerce solution, and that's the true goal. So just be mindful that, yes, you may want to increase the number of likes and the number of shares and the number of comments on Facebook, but ultimately the goal should be what is benefiting the business. And so just keep that in mind. Knowing your audience, I think, is really important. And the only thing I say about number 2 is that when we think about it, we've got to go over to 5 or 6 where we talked about ad strategy. There's really no way for you to be able to build a strong enough Facebook audience in terms of numbers if you don't have a following already without advertising. So you've got to push some ads to build up your Facebook audience, and then from there, know who they are in order to be able to do that. Some ways you can do that is if you have at least an email list, or if you have some database of folks, you can upload those to Facebook on the business manager side, inside of the ads manager, and then start to understand who these people are, who's on Facebook, who's not on Facebook, and then show lookalike audiences or remove ads from audiences that you don't believe fit the bill for ideal customers. So that's just important to kind of keep in mind as well. Just scrolling down, they talk about the idea of engaging proactively with your audience. This is really important, and it's just a little bit higher in the list than I think it should be. We should be really first thinking about what is the content we're building on our website, that kind of anchor content that is going to really be highly valuable for someone to want to come to, so that we can go ahead and engage with them once they're there. The content on Facebook is nothing more than kind of part teaser, but part entertainment and education. So how can we entertain and educate around this, and then ultimately bring them closer to wanting more? And this is actually really important, because one of the things that they bring up here in step number 4, which is scheduling your content. Note that in their report, they note here that the top reason content types that consumers want from brands on social media is links to more information. They literally want you to give them a link to your website, someplace that you control content for, and to give them more information there. So they clearly want more information. You just have to be able to give it to them. And that means on social, your social posts are not about giving away everything on social. It's about giving them enough to want them to then come to your website and get the whole panoply of value that you have to offer that is en route to sales. Right? What is the thing you're trying to sell, and what is that thing intermediary that can help facilitate that? Right? Again, going back to what we used to call consultative sales. And so we want to use some of those consultative sales components to be able to lead people to it. But I thought that was really evocative, that 30% of the people who are going to visit your social posts are really looking for links to more information. I found this very interesting. It says in terms of most successful content on each of the platforms. On Facebook, the number one content piece is video. Instagram, video. LinkedIn is audience insights. I don't really understand what that means in terms of what they're trying to say there, but I'm presuming they just mean you need to look at your data in order to understand your audience. But I would presume that text and video is the content type. And then on Twitter, it says data-driven strategy. Snapchat is video. I don't really understand this chart very well, but I think that you can see here that video is by far, the most important thing that shows up on this screen. Determining Facebook ad strategy, I think I already talked about that in terms of the fact that you need to run ads in order to do that. If you have employees, you need to obviously do employee advocacy. Their sharing from their profiles are powerful to consumers as one of those metrics of brand advocacy. And so employee advocacy is a part of that advocacy that we see across the board. And then last but not least is, of course, tracking and analysis. It's going to be really, really important to tie your social media dashboard tools to your Google Analytics or whatever tools are coming down the pike. And of course, we have a new Google Analytics, that is Google Analytics 4 is coming out very soon. And so we'll be talking about that, and I'll be doing a webinar in 2021 about that. But really, tracking and analysis is important. So all told, I think it's really important for us to be thinking about strategy, and each of these articles that kind of cover and discuss a little bit about strategy is helpful and important. And I'm glad to see these articles being put out, and I hope they're useful to you, and I hope that you can kind of look at them from that perspective. American Family Pantry is asking, could you do a video or a comment on government contracts and ads for business? So in terms of comment, I don't necessarily have a comment, and in the sense that typically running those kinds of ads are looking strategically for the procurement officers or procurement agents for those contracts. So you're doing more capture management than you are per se doing ads to say, come buy my product, right? So we need to think about this from a much longer sales cycle when it comes to government contracts. And maybe at some point I will do a video on government contracts. I would probably have to invite some of my more expertise, economic development partners who know more about government contracting than I do. My government contracting experience is while it's there, it's probably more limited than maybe some of the other experts. But maybe I could put together a panel. So I will think about doing that in 2020. And thank you for the comment. With that brings us closer to the end of our show. I just have a couple of announcements. One, I am doing Web and Beyond webinars twice monthly. And so for our final webinar this month, which is not like this, where I'm just going live each week, but the webinars are on w3cinc.com/events. So if you go to the number 3cinc.com/events, and that's displaying on the screen now. If you go there, you'll find all of the webinars that we're publishing, all of our events that we're publishing throughout the month. We'll be updating that probably in the next week for the first set for January, February, March, that timeframe. And so our next one is 12/17, and that will be my final webinar of the year, all told, which is kind of exciting. And it's going to be my lessons from a year going live. So I'll be talking about all the lessons I've learned from coming here and talking to you each week, and what I've learned, the good, the bad, and the indifferent components, but really ways in which I think I can level up going next year. And maybe some of this will be useful to you in terms of what it's like to do live video each week. With that, you can join me in Web and Beyond community. I run a digital community called Web and Beyond Community. It's a place for us to discuss and share and learn about digital marketing and productivity technologies for small business. And so if you're interested in marketing and managing your business on the Web and Beyond, I think you are, because you're watching the show, you're more than welcome to go ahead and join us in Web and Beyond community. Robin from Startup to Growth is noting she loved my emphasis on 2021 planning. Absolutely. I think this is so important, and you're welcome. You're welcome. Always happy to do this. And so with that brings us to the close of our time together. If you've enjoyed this live stream, please hit the thumbs up icon on the video. That helps to bring new small business friends into the fold. And so thank you for joining me. Thank you for doing that. If you have a question, leave a comment on the video. Feel free to tweet or message me at W3 Consulting. I'm always on Twitter at W3, then Consulting on Twitter. I'm always happy to answer your questions there. You can join us every Monday here at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we come to you live for this each week. Thanks so much for spending this Web and Beyond live with me. I'm Ray Sidney Smith on behalf of W3 Consulting and our subsidiary W3C Web Services. Have a great week ahead on marketing and managing on the Web and Beyond.